You know, when you're in a conversation or a meeting and you say something, and then after that conversation, you start to second guess what you said. You judge yourself, wondering if you sounded weird, if you spoke too much, if you said the wrong thing. And when this gets uncomfortable, we seek advice like, how do I stop caring what other people think? We think that we just need to have a thicker skin. We need to build up some armor to not care. So how do I care less what people think? I actually think that that is the wrong question to ask. There's an even better question that will give you more of a foundation that will carry you through way more experiences than just not caring as much. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
1, 2,
Welcome to Authenticity Lab. I'm Dr. Kelsey Miles. I'm a chemistry professor and a musician. And this is the podcast where we run life experiments, because your life is not something to solve. Your life is something to discover. So I teach you how to think like a scientist and create like an artist, because to really build a life that feels like you need critical thinking skills and you need creative insight. Today we're talking about, why do I care so much about what people think about me? There's so much advice out there that tells you that the key is to stop caring what other people think, to build a thicker skin, so that way other people's opinions don't affect you. I'm telling you though, there's a different way you can approach this. This was a key thing I learned through my life and through the thousands of conversations I've had with students. Caring what other people think is not a weakness. It's a strength. The discomfort comes from when you change how you act in the world because you care what other people think. So the caring isn't the problem. We know that in order to be in relation with others, we need to care what they think. And at the same time, isn't it nice when people care what we think? It's kind of odd to think that the way to solve all of this is to stop caring about what other people think, because that's not how we build intimacy and trust with other people and relationships. So the problem isn't that you care too much. The problem is that you care so much about others outward that you don't use any of that energy caring about what you think, caring inward. When we care so much about what other people think, it can feel like we're shrinking. You know, you start replaying conversations, you start judging everything that you're saying. You worry so much about how you'll be perceived. Now, in that moment, you hear their opinion, you feel like it's yours too. But if you can pause in that discomfort and go, wait a second, this is their opinion. So how do you know when caring about what other people think has gone too far? I learned that I know exactly the moment I care too much about what other people think, when I cannot clearly name what I think. That's the moment when their opinions are so loud in your head, you don't even know what your opinion is. So I felt this many times in my own life. And I'll tell you one where I felt like 2 inches tall after this event. After my first year teaching, I had a first year review. And I went into this office, and I won't go into all the details, but I remember sitting down and they closed the door and they said, well, this is the part that's no fun. They critiqued me, just a long list of critiques. And the one that hit me the most was that they told me that I needed to pull back on music and needed to make sure that the students here at this university need to know that I'm only here for chemistry. They hadn't asked me a single question. And I said, did I do anything right my first year? That's when you know the meeting didn't go as well. Just full of critique. They mentioned nothing about that I had done well. I walked out of that meeting feeling so small. I was trying to parse out their opinions, to try to find things in which, there was truth in some of them, in ways I could improve. But the one where they said I needed to not let any student know that I was a musician, it really, really hurt me. These are people that were supposedly trying to help me. And so that was a really difficult time. It took me several months to kind of come out of that. And I tried it. I tried the whole, I'm just not going to care what they think. But a little part of me really cared what they thought. You can build a thick skin. But if you want to fully engage with life, you can't disengage and say, well, I'm just not going to care. I want to live fully. So I don't want to just disengage with life in that way. And after some time, I started to recognize my own voice, my own thoughts, and my own opinions about how that first year went. And I actually thought it went pretty well, given some of the circumstances that had happened that year. And I started to replay very specific things that had happened that year that I was proud of. I had done meaningful work. This is what shifted for me, as I realized that my opinion about how the year went was non-existent. I had shoved it down so far that I couldn't even hear it. So the issue wasn't that they had opinions. The real issue was that I allowed their opinions to be way louder and way more valid than my own opinion. And that's when it really clicked for me. It wasn't that I needed to stop caring, because that really wasn't working. Part of me still really cared. What I needed to do was stop only caring about what they think. I needed to take all of that effort that I was spending on their opinions and their thoughts and turn it to my own thoughts. Because if all I do is care about what other people think, and I don't care about what I think, what happens is you start feeling disconnected to yourself. So the question isn't, how do I care less about what people think? The question is, how do I care what people think and also what I think? To hold both opinions allows you to get advice, hear opinions that other people have, while also checking them against what you think and what your opinions are. Why are we thinking that we have to disconnect and disengage in order to feel safe? We can totally engage more. We can start caring about what we think. Because if you're going to give someone that much power, that their opinion matters so much, why not give yourself a little bit of that power? Can you hold both opinions? Can you hold your own with pride and also take advice from the opinions that you hear? So again, the goal is not to stop caring. The goal is to stay connected to yourself while you care a whole lot. And mind you, this is coming from someone. Like, I am a person who struggled severely with people pleasing. Let me tell you a quick story so you can see where I've gotten to now. And so if you're in a place where you just really struggle with this, there's hope. When I was an undergrad, I was doing research at an Air Force base. And I remember being in this meeting where one of the postdocs was just loudly and clearly communicating their opinions. And I remember thinking, how do they have such strong opinions? Where do opinions come from? Because I had structured my whole life. I had structured my own opinions around what everyone else thought. That was really eye-opening for me. It's not that I didn't have opinions. I had just shoved them down so far. Over time, I just lost touch with myself. And so I share that story because when you get more connected with yourself, it's almost like you're remembering who you are. It's not like I completely became a different person when I started to spend more energy caring about what I thought. Instead, I just became more of myself. And so if you're someone who struggles with this is not you being stuck like this forever. You just haven't been listening to your own thoughts and opinions enough. I think it's time that we run a life experiment. And I'm going to walk through my framework: calibrate, experiment, optimize. And this is exactly what you can do if you are stuck in this moment right now, caring what other people think. First, we're going to calibrate, which means get super clear about where you are at. You're going to ask yourself, what do they think? And then the most important question, what do I think? If you can't clearly name what you think and your opinion about that situation is, that's data. And what you can do the next time Before you interact with that situation, write down or think about your opinion or your thought. This is something you're going to need to practice. And you are not trying to guess what they will say or think. No, this is simply saying, what is my opinion about this topic? If you struggle with saying your own opinion, the experiment, make it as small as possible. Say one truth. Don't over-explain it, just name it. Say it and let your opinion exist. The last step is to optimize, which is to, after you run that experiment, then you start to reflect back and think about what happened. What did you like? What did you not like? And then adjust it. You might take in some of their opinion. You might realize that you wanted to spend more time with your own before you got into that conversation. Whatever it is, this is going to help you when you run another experiment. So practice this. And what will happen as you start to get better with sharing your opinion or giving your opinion a little bit of energy too, something might happen that is not fun. And I know it very well, which is to second guess yourself. That's exactly what we're going to talk about next week. So as we wrap up this episode, I just want to remind you that caring what other people think, it's not a weakness, it's a strength. And you might just need to adjust where you're putting your energy. You might need to put more of your energy on what you think and what your opinion is. This is how you stay connected with yourself while still connecting with other people. So don't just build that armor. It will not serve you in the long run. So go out there, run your life experiment, keep trying, keep testing, keep improving, because self-trust is built one discovery at a time. So be bold, be curious, and be you. And I'll see you in the next episode.
Yeah, that house will always call you.